Skye and Loch is an administrative region of Highland Scotland, consisting of the Isle of Skye and adjacent mainland, high into Glen Shiel in the east and south Loch Hourn. Northern Loch is mostly grand wilderness. Skye and Loch Environment Forum, SLEF for short, was founded in 2003 by the Highland Council, one of 7 regional groups, Highland-wide, tasked with devising local biodiversity action plans. That achieved and strapped for cash, the Council withdrew support and funding, and SLEF carried on as an independent organisation. South Skye community objection to 4 proposed salmon farms spawned 2 coastal community groups, now affiliated with SLEF, who are reporting their progress these past 10 years in this presentation. First, the South Skye Seas Initiative, SSSi. The South Skye sea lochs were targeted 4 times by salmon farming companies, and the Slate community played a significant role in their having to withdraw after learning about the industry's shortcomings and the application of evidence and good reasoning. But we couldn't just stop there. Having come together and accumulated a decent knowledge base, we now had a well-informed lobbying machine which was not going to become complacent. One faction remained to campaign for aquaculture reform, while the other would transfer its attention to gathering an extensive biodiversity dataset to inform future conservation projects. It was around that time the South Skye Seas Initiative, otherwise known as SSSi, came out with a flourish at Gartmore in May 2016. The project began with seashore visits as we'd organised previously, but now given a more formal approach to species recording. If we were to choose just one indicator of our loch's extraordinary biodiversity, it has to be the crabs found on the Loch Eschalt shore, 11 species. Here are the sites of all those seashore surveys and the data collated in a detailed spreadsheet. We were very fortunate that SNH took an interest in the biodiversity of our lochs. They carried out 2 surveys, the first with a drop-down camera, and then 2 years later, aboard the SEPA research vessel, using improved photographic technology and grab sampling of the seabed. Their results were terrific. More solid data, this time offshore. Now should SSSi need to present data, SSSi had it. But there was a lot more to do. In these lochs, seagrass or eelgrass, Zostera marina, is just one of many priority species and habitats known to Nature Scott as Priority Marine Features, PMFs. So we welcomed visits by Project Seagrass, who added a lot to our knowledge, both data and special ecology we needed to know about. Seagrass meadows are often beyond detection, underwater and sometimes offshore, so signs are important. This picture shows what people should look for and report, because SSSi can check it out decisively. The frond found at X and recorded at the time later led to the discovery of a new remote seagrass meadow by the Skye Vor. And this is how. Funds were obtained that enabled SSSi to purchase a little submarine, a remotely operated underwater vehicle with lights and cameras, an ROV. It took a lot of getting to know. The ROV was first deployed in the relative safety of a swimming pool. Poolside mission control. Next, it was sent to sea from the shore. Mission control needed shading. Alongside, a drop-down GoPro camera on a pole gathered alternative inshore photos and film. A boat of some sort is essential for offshore work with an ROV, so our friend Paul Smith of Torrin was recruited, captain of the Orion, now SSSi's part-time survey vessel, while Paul's become a full-time SSSi member. From table to swimming pool, seashore, and now from the deck of Orion. There was still lots to learn about, but as of then, new seagrass meadows were being recorded and mapped. Here's a clip from one of the first SSSi ROV videos, when they found previously unrecorded seagrass. Note that there are obstacles to be negotiated. The long unbranched strands of Cordophyllum stand upright in deeper water, as do the much branched fronds of Helidris silicosa. Both seaweeds can be troublesome, tangling the propellers and holding up work. Tangling can be particularly problematical when the ROV is operated from the shore. In case that happens, a recovery kayak or swimmer needs to be on standby. If the ROV does get itself entangled, a thorough strip down is necessary. A DIY remedy has been devised, though seaweed recognition and avoidance is probably the best strategy. Before the ROV, seagrass records were only at accessible inshore sites in Loch Esholt. Since SSSi invested in the Blue ROV, 14 further sites have been located and mapped, and there will be more. Why have seagrass meadows been prioritised by SSSi? Seagrass has been in decline for a very long time, and Scotland has much less than in the past. There is an urgent need to discover what we do have and then to monitor its progress, or, if further decline, step in with mitigation measures based upon up-to-date population data. Seagrass is of economical importance. It is considered a blue carbon species. That is, in Scotland, it has the potential to sequester almost 4,000 tonnes of CO2 per year. Also, as a habitat, it is home to rich biodiversity and provides a significant nursery for several important commercial species, including scallops, cod and herring. Deploying an ROV requires a team, and as SSSi discovered in the early stages, operating an ROV successfully takes a lot of trial and, unfortunately, error. But now they're quite proficient. Please be aware that, because of the necessity for a dedicated crew, nobody casually lends their ROV. But of course, SSSi will happily share their experience, so please get in touch. With many other PMFs to be discovered, recorded and mapped, the SSSi ROV team will be occupied for quite a while. And there are additional pleasures to be had.
Magnificent. Oh, well done, sweetheart. Oh, you are wonderful. You are just wonderful. Ah.
What will be keeping SSSi occupied in the near and further future? Some rewilding of the South Skye sea lochs. Both seagrass and native oysters are, like so many other organisms, undergoing catastrophic declines. Work has already begun on surveying the current status of both, and we are considering following a project entitled Sea Wilding Community-Led Habitat Restoration in our own local coastal waters. As a finale to this report of SSSi's recent activities, here's a short video showing what locals are doing at Loch Greignish, Argyll. We could be doing likewise.
Scotland, a land of towering mountains and glittering lochs, of ancient forests, home to magnificent creatures. This land tells the story of its people. It's a place where every corner of the landscape is shaped by the past. A past that has propelled Scotland towards becoming a nature-depleted nation. Many species that were once abundant in these lands now teeter on the edge, whilst others were hunted to extinction. Yet, our relationship with this land is changing. A new nature-positive course is being charted, and there is a groundswell of ambition to restore the abundance and diversity of life to Scotland's land and seas. Achieving these aims will require working together. Ambitious national strategies should be informed by the best science available. And local communities must be empowered to ensure stewardship for future generations. In one corner of Scotland, this journey is already underway. Here, a community-led restoration programme is working to restore both native oysters and seagrass meadows to their local loch. As both of these habitats have significantly declined in the UK due to human impacts. Seawalding has conducted extensive surveys around the loch, searching for the best location to position their native oyster nursery. Specially designed cages provide the perfect environment for the juveniles to grow, and over time they develop into entire ecosystems full of life. Here, they can be expected to grow 10 times in size in a period of just 4 to 5 months. The oysters are health checked often, monitoring both size and weight. So far, Seawalding and the community have put 300,000 on the seabed, and they have another 700,000 to follow over the next few years. This summer, Seawalding have added seagrass restoration to their successful oyster project. Seagrasses are marine plants that live in sheltered areas along our coastline. They play a vital role in our seas by helping to maintain a healthy marine environment. These underwater plants absorb carbon from the atmosphere and provide a home for a wealth of marine species. Scientists are working closely with Seawalding, using the latest technology to monitor the condition and area of the seagrass. The community has been out swimming in the meadows collecting seagrass seeds. They have collected over 200,000 in total, which are being processed in the loch shore using purpose-built, simple facilities. Community members of every generation are involved in the project, helping to separate the seeds from their pods. Once collected, they are placed into biodegradable bags ready for planting. Around 50 seeds are carefully placed into every bag, mixed together with the sand from the loch. Snorkelers are then sent out to plant the bags next to the remaining seagrass meadows, in the hope that this will help expand the meadows and protect these underwater gardens for the future. Solutions based in nature, both large and small, will help to mitigate the effects of climate change and reverse biodiversity loss. There has never been a more urgent need to restore our damaged ecosystems than now. Ecosystems support all life on Earth. The healthier our ecosystems are, the healthier the planet and its people. The UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration aims to prevent, halt, and reverse the degradation of ecosystems on every continent and in every ocean. But it will only succeed if everyone plays a part. We must unite to secure a sustainable future for our planet. Join the global movement to restore our world.
In September 2020, the Ocean School wrote to Skye and Lochoush Environment Forum, of which the South Skye Seas Initiative is a part, introducing themselves and describing their interest in the marine environment. We naturally jumped at the chance to engage and support them, but due to COVID restrictions, any face-to-face activity was put on hold. A plan was developed to engage remotely, and after some seagrass learning, they were tasked with checking for seagrass fronds on the shoreline. With much excitement and relief, seagrass was found. That was just the start of the Ocean School's seagrass project, but progress had to be delayed while other projects kept them busy. Struan Primary School on Skye is using its local seashore as an outdoor classroom. The school consists of just 6 pupils, ages 7 to 11, a teacher and a teaching assistant who has a marine biology degree. Activities include ocean yoga, beach cleans, seashore exploration and getting wet. Marine debris, the usual nets, ropes and so on, were gathered and used in an art project, resulting in the sign on the school wall and the development of the Ocean School logo. The next step was to plan an offshore survey, but that was not possible until June 2021. After detailed planning meetings, we were ready to go, and Eileen and Lindsay arrived with a couple of paddle boards, a bathyscope and GoPro cameras on poles. The kids were kitted out with brand new wetsuits and snorkels, and after a safety briefing they were ready to venture into the water. The kids were soon fully engaged near the shore and exploring underwater. It was the first time for one of them to be in the sea, and we're pleased to report that he wasn't at all daunted by this experience. The promise of hot chocolate at the end beckoned. We didn't find any seagrass, but the kids' and teaching staff's enthusiasm and commitment made this a day to remember. No more seagrass fronds had been found, but the day after school term finished, Sophie was out walking with her family on Oronsay Island and came across seagrass washed up on the beach. Survey site number 1 identified. A week or so later, our intrepid seagrass spotter was out swimming up the coast from Site 1 at Ebost and actually swam over a seagrass bed. Survey Site 2 had been identified. We introduced Sophie to Seagrass Spotter, so her findings have been recorded, but we need to undertake proper surveys to ensure the data are validated and then recorded in the National Biodiversity Network Atlas. At their prize giving at the end of term, each Ocean School member made a presentation on marine activities undertaken during the school year, which included making seaweed soap and fertiliser, sea salt and a recipe book, all of which they sold and raised £311, which was donated to the Hebridean Whale and Dolphin Trust. The Seagrass Search project was voted the best. Here's a clip from Ben's presentation.
Ocean School seagrass by Brent Rolls. On Thursday the 3rd of June, Miss Jones and her aquatic pirate minions went hunting to locate some seagrass. Seagrass is vital for schools of small fish as natural defence against predators in bad weather. Seagrass is good for biodiversity because it's coupled with currents and waves. It also absorbs a lot of carbon and nutrients, which is good for fish food and fight against climate change.
When the Ocean School said they would like to continue their survey activities, we introduced them to the Coastal Communities Monitoring Project, who have subsequently agreed funding to provide equipment for the school. The kids were given a copy of James Merriweather's Seashore Guide to aid them in their future studies. SSSi will continue to support the Ocean School going forward, and it is hoped we can carry out further joint survey work and possible seagrass restoration planting in 2022. Here's hoping for some calm weather. Next, also a Skye and Loch Alsh initiative, a presentation by the Scottish Salmon Think Tank. Alongside many other campaigning groups, we want to see an end to salmon farming as it is currently conducted in nets at sea. Our method is to learn about the industry and campaign for reform calmly and thoughtfully according to the evidence. Having studied the evidence, we have developed opinions based on knowledge gained. Actually, we're just ordinary members of the public who would prefer not to campaign at all, but feel obliged to when faced with shocking reality. By November 2015, the Slate community had effectively seen off the salmon farmers, allowing island life to return to some sort of normality. Having come together and accumulated a decent knowledge base, we now had a well-informed lobbying machine which was not going to become complacent. One faction remained to campaign for aquaculture reform, while the other would transfer its attention to gathering an extensive biodiversity dataset to inform future conservation projects. With SSSi projects making progress, SSTT carried on separately with its own continuing and developing purposes. Both groups, consisting of very much the same Skye and Loch Alsh people, were taken into this organisation, SLEF, a Scottish constituted charitable organisation which has a highly reputable board of trustees, a bank account, and that charity status that enhances the acquisition of funding. Having gained loads of experience as we fought the fish farmers targeting the South Skye lochs, we contributed to Highland Council planning consultations at least another 20, plus numerous Scottish Government consultations, including the Parliamentary Inquiry into Aquaculture in 2018, which concluded the status quo is not an option, which the government acknowledged then, so far, has ignored. We are unimpressed. In 2016, the Scottish Salmon Think Tank gathered together other coastal community groups campaigning for the reform of salmon farming in Oban. A coalition emerged from that meeting, SARNS, the Salmon Aquaculture Reform Network Scotland, which campaigns not with placards and slogans, but with calm discussion, consultation and lobbying. So far, that has proved to be a low-key but effective policy, and we are being taken seriously by at least some of the powers that be. We also had a voice at that 2018 Parliamentary Inquiry, a significant and extremely competent contribution by John Aitchison of the Friends of the Sound of Jura. Both of our Skye groups, and later another in North Skye, joined another coalition, the Coastal Communities Network, CCN, established by Fauna and Flora International and now consisting of 19 groups and growing. We have now really enjoyed 3 weekend gatherings of CCN at this magnificent country house, Gartmore. As mentioned in the recent SLEF newsletter, when Gartmore dates are announced, Diaries are hurriedly and mercilessly rearranged. And we've just been told the dates for Gartmore 4. Yay! Roger Cottis and I have given presentations around Skye and Loch Alsh and beyond, sharing with many coastal communities what we learnt about salmon farming the hard way. I took the ferry and gave a talk on the Isle of Canna to a small group of people concerned about Moe's plan to site a huge farm off their coast. It took place in the lambing shed, with sheep sounds the other side of a flimsy partition and swallows performing acrobatics beneath the roof. And afterwards we were treated to the birth of a lamb. If I'm not mistaken, Moe, who promised to pay attention to community disapproval, moved on. The National Trust for Scotland certainly made sure its objection was heard. Next, 5 of us visited Egg, where we had a long and valuable discussion with a significant contingent of interested locals and a splendid lunch. In response to well-informed public opinion, Moe moved on. Once again, in December 2019, I sallied forth alone into the welcoming hospitality of a newly formed campaign group in North Skye, now very much a force to be reckoned with, Skye Communities for Natural Heritage. They faced applications for 4 farms, 2 of which were permitted and 2 refused. Despite a brilliant case pressed authoritatively by SCFNH, the absence of the only councillor on the planning committee to understand the subject properly meant that the Scorrybreck and Culnaknock sites were approved by the naivest of reasoning. With Councillor Fraser present and further campaigning pressure from SCFNH, the Floddigary and Balmaqueen applications failed. That was the proper application of correct procedure, which should not be dependent upon the presence of the only councillor who knows what he's doing. This book was originally produced for the Slate community, delivered free door to door after we had learnt some facts about salmon farming. It needs updating a little, but it has served to inform other community groups over the years and remains available. And now that information has been turned into a YouTube channel with, so far, 20 videos for people to watch free of charge. We have no intention of making any money, so if communities wish to give public showings of these videos, they are welcome to do so, as well as copy them person to person without the risk of a copyright or royalty claim. This new facility has yet to pick up speed, so please have a look at the videos and share them and anything else you can do to help us persuade people why farming salmon in nets at sea is a thoroughly bad idea.